In today's tutorial, we'll knit the Ripple and Ridge Knit Blanket by Yarnspirations.com. Welcome back to another Yarnspirations tutorial. I'm your host, Kristen Mangus of GoodKnitKisses. Let's get started. In today's tutorial, you'll need a super bulky number 6 weight yarn. We're using Bernat Beyond in color purple for contrast A. For contrast B, we're using color lilac. For contrast C, we're using color quartz pink. In today's pattern, we'll make the Ripple and Ridge knit blanket in this beautiful chevron pattern. I'm showing it here in a Lovey size, and I'm going to show you how to make the Lovey size and the larger Afghan. The Lovey is about 16 inches wide, 15 or 16 inches wide by about 19 inches long, made in the 3 colors. You just need 1 ball of each color, and I'm going to show you the supplies here in a moment. To make the larger Afghan, you're going to need 7 balls of your main color and 4 balls of the other 2 color. So let's show you what supplies you need. You're going to need a US 11 or 8 millimeter circular knitting needle. This is a 40 length cable. You're going to want to use this awesome squishy Bernat Beyond yarn. This is so great. I love how it works up. It's so soft. I've got contrast A in purple, then I've got contrast B in lilac, and contrast C in this really soft quartz pink. Okay, so now the main pattern, if you wanted to do it with a large Afghan, you're going to want to make it, contrast A is 7 balls, contrast B and C are 4 balls each, and that will make an entire Afghan that's about 50 inches wide by 60 inches long, or you can make a Lovey, and we'll show you both of those cast-ons. The Lovey is 15 inches wide by about 19 inches long. So let's get started. We're going to make a cast on, we'll make the edging, the main stitch pattern, show you how to change the colors and finish that off and even weave in those pesky ends. All right, I'll see you soon. Get your supplies. To get your copy of the Ripple and Ridge knit blanket pattern, click on the link in the description below. While you're gathering your supplies, let's go over this. This is an easy pattern. Yay! We're going to go over all the stitches here. It's got knitting, knit 2 together, we'll cast on together, we'll bind off. It's also got a yarn over on there. And it's pretty simple. It's a 2-row repeat, and the pattern repeats every 20 rows. You're going to change your color. So you repeat these rows here back and forth until you get 20 in one color, and then you switch. So we're going through the main cast on and everything. If you want to make it in the Afghan in these colors here, this is cream, slate, and then pumpkin. So this Bernat Beyond has a lot of lovely colors to check out, so be sure and do that. Now we're going to cast on 139 stitches for the main Afghan. The pattern repeat on this is a multiple of 13 plus 9. So for the Lovey, I'm going to cast on 48, and I promise 48 and 139 are both multiples of 13 plus 9. So there's 3 pattern repeats in what I'm going to make today right here. And then this main pattern here with the Afghan, it's actually 10 of them, 10 pattern repeats wide. All right, let's get started. We're going to do a Longtail cast on. I'm going to pull out enough length, which is about 3 times the width of my blanket that I want. If you're doing the larger one, it's going to be about 50 inches. And for the smaller one, it's about 15 inches wide. And so we're going to pull out about 3 times that length, and then make your slip knot, or you can start it without the slip knot. I like to start it without, and I'm going to put the tail towards me and the ball part to the back, and this long tail is just kind of lay down in front of me. I'm going to grab it and hold it with my right hand. My finger is on there, and then hold these 2 strands in my left, split that with my fingers, and scoop up where my thumb is. Okay, so I'm going to pull this back like a slingshot. I'm going to scoop up where my thumb is, go down where my finger is, and then down through the thumb again, and then pull that so where it's snugged up. Let's do that one more time. So I'm grabbing in my left hand, opening it up. We're going to scoop from the thumb, go down from the finger, down to the thumb, and then tighten that up. Scoop up, go down, down, and then tighten that up. So we're going to continue on until you get your 48 stitches for the Lovey or your 139 for the main Afghan. Okay, once you have all the stitches loaded on that you need, obviously this is a smaller sample here, we're going to turn that needle over and start working our first knit stitch. So the tail you're just going to let hang, and then this is my working yarn here. So I'm going to put my needle in this first stitch here through that bottom. We're going to wrap around this working yarn over the back needle and pull that working yarn through to make a new loop. Let the old one just fall off, and then you've got a new stitch right here on the right hand needle. So let's do that again. Insert through that first loop, wrap around, pull that on through, let the old fall off, and then you've got your stitch. So we're going to transfer all these stitches over, and once you get to the end of your row, you will turn it and continue another row. You're going to work back and forth until you have completed 8 rows, and we're back on the right hand side. And I'll show you here. So let's see that we got to the end of our row here. All right. And then we would take that and turn it, make sure that's nice and straight, and then continue on our second row. All right, so continue on, and I'll meet you back after you've got 8 rows in your stitch count that you needed. Once you've created your 8 rows of garter stitch, you're going to start working the stripe pattern. Now we know that our beginning tail is here, so this is the right side. This is the first knit row and the first purl row, so this would be the second row. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 when we're counting the ridges here. And so now we're going to work our pattern. We work the right side pattern, which is knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, that's 4. Okay, now I'm going to put a marker on here, and then I know that that is my first 4, and I will always knit those first 4. Now I'm going to knit one more. That's the next part of the pattern. This is right where the asterisk starts, so we knit that one. Now we want to yarn over. We're simply putting the yarn over our needle here, and then we're going to work the next stitch. So when it gets worked, that becomes a new stitch on here, and that's an increase. Now we're going to work 4, so we knit 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now we're going to knit 2 together. So we take these 2 stitches here and work them together. And that's in parentheses, and now it says twice. So the part that's in the parentheses we're going to do twice. So we knit these 2 together again. Okay, and then we knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we yarn over again. Okay, and then that concludes where the asterisk is. So now we're going to repeat back where the other asterisk is, and it starts off at knit 1, and then yarn over. Okay, and then we're going to knit the next 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Before I move on, I want to show you what that did. So we worked our first yarn over, and then we knit 2 together, and then we knit 2 together, then we did another yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, and then we knit 4. So we just created this part here. So this was one pattern repeat, and then now we've done the first half of the second pattern repeat. So let's do that again. We have worked all the way up to the point of needing to knit together. So we've got, if we look at it on our stitches here, on our needles, you can see how this stitch here is elongated, and then this stitch here is elongated. It's very much wider and to the side, and see these holes. That's how you can tell where in your knitting this area is. Okay, so now we're going to knit 2 together, continuing on our pattern, and then after the knit 2 together, again we're going to knit 4. So that goes on either side of that area. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll show you what that looks like. So what you did is you made it run this way and this way. And so the knit two together joins here and joins here, and then that way it makes it go up in this position. Okay, and then we go down whenever we make the yarn over here. Now we have a yarn over at the end of that repeat, and then we start our another asterisk again. So we've got a knit one, and then a yarn over again, and then knit 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we repeat that knit 2 again, knit 2, knit 2 together, and then we're going to knit 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to go until you have 5 stitches left, and then we yarn over for the last time, and then we knit these last 4 stitches. Now, I'm going to have you do something a little different here, and you may decide later if you want to change it, but I put on a different stitch marker here, and so I know that I'm going to yarn over for that stitch marker, and then I'm going to knit 1, put another stitch marker, just like the between the 4 I had at the other end, and then I'm going to knit the end here, and you'll see why on the second row of this pattern repeat. So knit all the way to the end, and we're going to turn this over and work row 2 of our pattern repeat. So the back side, the wrong side, is knit 4 stitches because we're going to keep this garter stitch on the edge. 2, 3, 4. So we knit to the marker, okay? And so on the wrong side row, you're actually not going to knit this stitch, and that's why I have that marker here. So I'm going to slip it, put my yarn to the front, and then we're going to purl that stitch, okay? And then slip that marker again, and we're going to purl. So we're going to purl all of the opposite row stitches. So you're going to purl by sticking your needle through the front of this leg here, wrap your yarn around, and you're pushing it through to the other side. So if you haven't purled, put your needle up through the front of this leg of this stitch here, wrap the yarn around, and then push it on through. And that's it. Now you're going to work up into that next marker with that last marker on the left side here. And so work until you have 4 stitches left, and then you'll knit those. And you're done with the pattern repeat for the stripe for the 2-row repeat. Now I'll meet you back at the end and we'll talk a little bit more. Okay, we're at the end of our row. I'm going to slip this marker, and then we switch to the back. Okay, if you don't switch your yarn to the back, then you will create an extra stitch, and we don't want to do that. So then we're going to knit these last 4 stitches, and you're done with the 2-row repeat for the stripe pattern. Now you're going to want to repeat that 2-row repeat 10 times so that you have 20 rows made. Okay, so we're going to work with color A, which this one's color A, and we're going to make 20 rows, and it becomes this. And then we're going to add in our second ball of yarn. So keep working, and I'll meet you back when you're ready to add your second ball of yarn. So I'm on the side after I've done 4 rows, and I want you to see how it's starting to work up. Now, as you're working along here, when you get to the area where you need to knit 2 together, you'll see that you can tell where this part is starting to turn, okay? You can see it angle up, and you actually knit until 1 before that stitch, and these 2 get pushed together, and then these 2 get pushed together, and then that makes this area right here, okay? So you'll be able to very clearly see where the yarn overs are happening and where you're needing to push the stitches together for the knit 2 together where it comes in, and then these are the yarn overs here where you actually work and knit this other yarn over from the previous row, and then put your yarn over in, knit this 1 stitch, put a yarn over in, and then work this again as a knit stitch. And so that's where how it keeps this line going, and it's going to look like this. All right, so continue, and we'll add in your yarn when you're ready. Okay, we're at the part of the pattern where we want to change colors, and we're going to count the garter ridges here to make sure we have enough. I'm going to show you on this sample over here where that stops. You can see the color is clearly coming in. It comes in on this knit row, so it looks nice and clean. And here we go. We're going to look down at this garter ridge beginning here and follow this bottom ridge over. We're not going to count that. We want to count this one. So there's a knit stitch in between, and so that would be 1, and then this is 2. So every time you see one of these ridges, you're going to count it. So we say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So that is how you count those if you're new to counting it. And we're going to start right at that point there. I've got my yarn already cut. Okay, so I've got 6 to 9 inches there. I've got my next yarn ready. I'm going to hang a tail in the back about the same length. And then we're just going to use this as our working yarn. I'm going to grab our needle and insert it through that stitch. And then use our yarn here and just knit over. Work that stitch. Now it may be a little loose, so once I get one on here, I'll go ahead and just pull on that loose one and then just let it hang, because I'm going to show you how to work that in later. So you just start working your pattern as normal and continue on. There's nothing else to do until the end. So meet me back up when you have completed your next 20 rows and then the one after. So you've got what we just did. You're going to work 20 and then change it and continue on until you are ready to bind off. I'll meet you back when you want to finish up this last section and bind off. See you soon. Okay, so last time we changed from color contrast A to contrast B, and now we're going on to contrast C. It's whatever color that you have chosen, and I'm just going to show you a little bit different way to hold this. So if it was a little fiddly for you down here, let's do this again. I'm going to hold my cut piece of tail back here, and then my tail of my new one, and just kind of match them up and hold them a little tighter. And go ahead and stick in your needle here into this first loop, and we're going to grab the new yarn and pull it on through, and so it remains tighter this way, and so that might feel more comfortable for you. And then when you come back around on the return row, you may have to tighten it up just a little bit. I'll show you this one over here. So this one down here was from the first change, and it's going to be a little looser, and we will show how to weave in these tails and make that nice and straight and tight. So you're going to continue in this established pattern until 200 rows of stripe pattern have been completed, or for a Lovey, you're going to work on the 3 colors and then finish off and work 8 rows of knit stitches and garter stitch, and come back and we'll show you how to cast that off or bind that off. All right, see you soon. And we've come to the end of our pattern, and we want to cast off or bind off. So we're going to knit the first stitch as usual, and then knit the second stitch. We're going to pass the first stitch that you knit over the second stitch, and that will bind off 1 stitch. Continue doing that by knitting the second stitch and moving the first one over the top of the next one. So continue on until you reach the end, and I'll meet you back to show you how to finish it. Okay, we've reached the last stitch. We're going to knit that and move the stitch over to the back, and then we are free to go ahead and cut this yarn here. So just pull out a few inches here, cut that, and then I'll show you how to weave in your tails. So we want to join our yarns together, so we flip onto the reverse, and I've threaded my needle through, and I want to join these two and make sure that they're not loose. Let's see how this is loose right now. So we just left these kind of cut and running free here. So we're going to take our section, this is our new yarn, and I'm going to go around these little stitches here. See that one there? I'm going to just go back up through here because it's coming down through this section, and I'm going to go down through here, and so it's going to match up with this stitch, and then I can actually take it up into here through this one and go around here. See that? And then we can go around that stitch again here, and then go back up through this purple and take the lilac going all the way around. See how we're making this sort of zigzag, like old-fashioned candy, zigzag candy. And you just take all your stitches around through. I've got one that's split off, so I'll just take that through with the needle. But you get the idea. And So if your yarn's a little short like mine is here, you can just put your needle on through there, work that on through, and pull it out. And so I'll just work this entire thing through and then not even worry about trimming that off unless I have a little bit, because this is a very short piece here. And so now I want to take this other piece here and weave this in. Okay. And so now I'm going to take it down through here and go around my stitches and do the same kind of thing. And go around. And see how it's just mirroring that same stitch pattern that's going on. And so you're not actually seeing any extra line of color. And on the other side, it's not making any changes either. So you're just going to continue on, and then when you're ready, you'll snip off that yarn and you're done with the weaving tails. Finish weaving in all the rest of them and I'll join you back in a minute. I want to talk about how to finish this stitch here. This is the very last one where we cut it off. And if you're not sure about what it's supposed to look like when you finish this off, take a look at the side of your knitting. And so depending upon what you did, so if you're knitting with a slip stitch or you're knitting and working all the ends, you're going to have it roll over different, and these stitches will overlap each other differently. So you can treat this end stitch different. So if I want to mirror what's going on here, then I can take my yarn that's coming out the end this way and go around this little loop here and then pull it in, and it matches this edge quite nicely and pulls that around. So it has that same detail. See how it's all masked over? And if I had it to where I needed to create like a chain loop, okay, I can always, like especially on a hat and things where I have to match the edge, I can go through this beginning stitch here and then make it go around in a loop like this. So where I create a loop on the end here, okay, and see how that pulls that all the way tighter in. So in this case, it still looks nice. So I can play with it either direction, and then I want to work my stitches in so that it's all finished. You wouldn't just cut it off at that point. And then we're going to work our way around. I like to go towards the back and just get my stitches all the way to the back until I get into here, okay, so where I can play with these stitches and it's easier to work around. So what I like to do is go through one of these stitches here so I can find this little curve and go around the stitches there and find how my stitches lay out and follow that natural line, okay? And so see how it hides? So we're gonna go back up through and find an area where I can pop over and do that again. And if I missed it, I can actually go up through here on this edge and work it that way. But in this case, I'm saying, I look at it and go, okay, well, I think I need to go a little further down so I can go back and forth between these two rows. And so we're gonna go all the way down to this row, okay? And then now I'm gonna work back and forth between this row and this row, and we're gonna do this zigzag. So I'm gonna go around this stitch here and then come back up here, okay? And then we're gonna go around this stitch here and then come back up here and then go around this one. So go around, come back up through this area, and we're just zigzagging through. And see how you can't tell anything is happening? It's because this matches the main color, and because we're just going back and forth and matching all the stitches, you're not going to notice that extra amount of yarn. And it's going to be very invisible to other people looking at it to study your work. They won't be able to tell where you did it. And it won't be coming out. And you can also go back on top of your stitches and go the opposite way and lock that back in. Okay, so now I'm going back over my stitches, and then I just need to cut that off, and I'm done.
I hope you enjoyed knitting your Ripple and Ridge knit blanket today. Please tag us in social media with a photo of what you made. On behalf of Yarnspirations and Good Knit Kisses, I'm your host, Kristen, wishing you happy knitting.